Hello and welcome to the this episode of the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. It is recorded live on Wednesdays on my Blue Moon Manifestations Facebook page, and then it becomes also the podcast episode for the week. So you are able to check it out and consume it in whatever way is best for you, and that can change from week to week, which is awesome. So I have a question for you, and I am actually looking it up as we speak because my notes were not in front of me, but they are now. So here's the question that I have to kick this off for you. Let's see if my tech will cooperate. Did you know that you can work with the lunar cycle on several levels and they can layer on each other so that you can be working with the various layers at the same time? So, if you did not know that, I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and share with you how you can learn more or kind of dive a little bit more into that, if you will. So, for those of you both who are new to the podcast and who are returning, welcome. My name is Patty, and I specialize in helping you believe in your dreams and show up as the person who already has them so that those dreams and desires have no choice but to manifest and become reality for you. So, that is what you will hear me talk about on multiple different layers and in multiple different ways with the undercurrent, as always, of the lunar cycle, because I love working with the moon. It has made huge impacts and differences in my life. So here we go. We're going to talk about the different ways, or a couple. I'm not going to dive into all of them today. Different ways that you can work with the lunar cycle. And just as a quick overview, to give you an idea, at least of, the four, is it four? One, two, three, four ways that I have on my list that are like the primary ways. There are probably infinite number of ways that you can personalize this and tweak it and find ways to make it work for you, or that you can choose to work with it as well. So the four kind of overall ones are working with the monthly lunar cycle, which is, if you're familiar with working with the moon at all, it is the lunar cycle from new moon to full moon and back around to the next new moon. And that is somewhere in the neighborhood of 28, 29-ish days. And that might be what you're familiar with when you hear people setting monthly lunar intentions or setting monthly wishes. So that's the monthly lunar cycle. And the new moon, each new moon is in a different sign of the zodiac as it goes around the zodiac calendar. Then is the one I'm really going to focus on today is the yearly lunar cycle. So you can take a 12-month calendar from you know, just familiar with January, and if out the Gregorian calendar, like where the actual named months, you would be working with it from winter back around to winter. So kind of cycling through just like the Gregorian calendar does. So the Gregorian calendar is the one that has the name months, January, February, etc. And that repeats every year, right? We start with January every year. And the thing that changes is the year. Like we're in 2023 right now is the calendar year. And so, but the months repeat every year. And that is exactly what the zodiac calendar does, except it does not start in January or in winter. The zodiac, the first sign of the zodiac calendar is Aries, which takes place, the new moon in Aries takes place anywhere from end of March into like the beginning-ish of April. And we have the Aries new moon coming up next week. As of the date that I'm recording this, which is March 15th of 2023, we have the Aries new moon next week on Tuesday. Um, which I believe is the 21st of March. We also have the spring equinox happening that day with um, uh, the beginning of the spring season. And that's also, I believe, the day, maybe the day before, I have to look at that the Aries season begins with the sun moving into Aries. So that's a little bit of astrology for you on that. So we are coming up on the Aries season, Aries new moon, and that will, like I just said, kicks off spring. That is when spring starts on the spring equinox here in the northern hemisphere. And like just to touch back to my list, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The next third layer that you could work with the lunar cycle is on over the course of a day, like a 24-hour day, or even splitting that on in half, like a 12-hour day. Each hour is associated with a sign, a zodiac sign, or a phase, which would be a new moon, so to speak, or a time that associates with the lunar cycle going in quarters. Next is actually on an hourly basis over the course of 1 hour, like the top of the hour being the new moon, and then working it way back around to the full moon at the half hour, and then back down to the next new moon when the next hour starts. So that's monthly, yearly, daily, and hourly. And I'm sure, like I said, there could be infinite combinations and ways to personalize that for yourself. So let me give you an example of how I'm going to dive into the yearly lunar cycle overlapping with the monthly lunar cycle in real time right now. And then this can apply with the same formula or the same concept at any given time. So right now, for the yearly lunar phase, we are getting ready to kick off the first quarter moon with the kickoff of spring. So the first quarter moon phase of the yearly lunar cycle is spring, the first quarter moon. And in real time right now, we are also in the last quarter moon of the monthly lunar cycle. So they're at opposites. If you think of the lunar cycle as a clock, the new moon is up at 12 o'clock. I just kind of reference this with the hour, but just in general, the lunar cycle, the new moon is up at 12 o'clock. The first quarter moon is at 3 o'clock. The full moon is at 6 o'clock. The last quarter moon, third quarter moon, referred to also as, is at 9 o'clock, and then back up at 12 o'clock for the next new moon. So looking at that cycle as over the course of an hour or a clock, let's just say, the first quarter moon of the yearly lunar cycle with spring is at direct opposites of the third quarter moon of the lunar cycle, which we're in with the monthly lunar cycle. And I know that's a lot of like visualizing, but let it settle in. It will kind of, permeate or kind of sift through. Your brain is absorbing all the information, I promise. And this is available as always on repeat, or you can pause, or on video, watch it slower if you so choose, because I am well aware that I talk fast, even though I try to tone that down, but that's just my nature. So with those being at opposites, the first quarter phase for the year and the third quarter phase for the month, you might think, well, that is opposite energies, opposite focuses, and clearly opposite phases. So how can we work with that together and not feel like we're working against ourselves or have those energies working against each other? Well, for those of you who are new or might want or need a refresher of the quarter phases, the new moon is when you set an intention. The first quarter moon is when you start taking action. The full moon is when you release and call in. You can do both because it's its biggest and brightest. The third quarter moon is when you're reflecting and also practicing gratitude and then looking forward to the next lunar cycle. So, with those being at opposites, I created basically like a little sentence to help you formulate how to work with this energy. So, the first quarter being taking action, and the final quarter being releasing gratitude and reflection. It could look something like this: releasing fear, doubt, and resistance by taking action from a place of trust. And I put that place of trust in there because we're wrapping up the Pisces lunar cycle on the monthly level. And that has to do with intuition and trust and emotions and connecting with your spiritual practice. So I created that sentence to encompass all of the focuses that we have right now. Release fear, doubt, and resistance by taking action from a place of trust. So you see how taking action for the first quarter of the year, of the spring, is like, okay, I might be scared. I might have these doubts, these old stories that I lived with or that have just been a part of me. And I can still take action from that place of trust, trusting that my intuition is leading me in the right direction, trusting that I know the steps to take, even if I can't see what the result will be, even if I can't see what the how the outcome will play out, even if I can't see or know what all the steps are. I'm only taking a step, be it the first step or second step or somewhere along, anywhere you are along your journey, taking action and trusting that it will lead you to the right place. Now, trusting that it will lead you to the right place can also look several different ways. It might give you information like, oh no, this isn't the right or next step. Let me go back a step. Or no, I can take a bigger step and continue moving past this step. Or it can help you redirect. It can help you find out or reveal what the next step is after that, especially if you're in that place of, I don't know what's going to come after that. So, should I take this step or not? You're never going to find out unless you do it, because otherwise we will stay stuck in that doubt or fear or resistance and try to logic our way through it or think our way through it. And I still get caught up in that space of like, oh, well, how is this going to play out? And especially with the Pisces lunar cycle, I have really been working on that, just leaning into that trust and like, okay, no, I trust that things are working out. I have evidence to support that. I can look back and see that things have worked out, even or especially even when there was challenging parts to go through. And it got me to the place that now I gained some clarity. I saw where I was, to be ready to take the next one or whatever that is. So that's how these energies are always working with each other, kind of intermingling, layering. And you can, depending on how you're feeling, depending on what season you are in your life, depending on circumstances, you can work with multiple layers of them. You can work with one. And it doesn't have to be that way like all the time. You can jump from working with multiple or being aware of what's going on to maybe only focusing on one, if that's what you have the capacity for, the energy for, or if you're learning. It's always easiest, I believe, to start basic when you're learning and only focus on one. But you can always add in or pull back a little bit if it starts to feel too much or overwhelming, because there will always be a lot of information available or possibly coming your way, or you might feel like you need to access to continue learning or moving forward. Just keep going with one, at least one, or work with that for a while and then pull in other aspects or other layers as you feel ready or feel curious or ready to kind of work with and experiment with. So that is the very broad, very broad version of the lunar cycle on different levels. And the reason that I am talking to you, especially about this right now, is because I have a workshop series kicking off next weekend. Like I said, I'm recording this on the 15th of March, or this weekend. The workshop is on the 19th of March. And this is going to be a series of workshops over the course of the year. And so this is the Lunar Year workshop series. And I will be starting with the first quarter moon spring manifesting workshop, spring season workshop. And it might seem a little bit off kilter. It's like, well, if the new moon starts in winter, what about starting with that one? Well, funny, you should think that or ask if you're asking. I did a workshop at the beginning of the year that had an overview of the entire lunar cycle based on the year and the seasons. So I did that kind of broad, macro, big scope workshop. And if you are someone who either missed it or didn't know about it, or you weren't around in the blue moon manifestations world back then, I will be including a link in all the places that you are seeing or hearing this in the comments or the description after this recording ends, that you can purchase the replay of that workshop if you so choose. And that comes with a worksheet and the workshop itself, where I walk you through the entire yearly lunar cycle and how it coincides, how each quarter coincides with the seasons. So that will be available. You could just jump right in, because this is what I frequently talk about. Jump right in and start wherever you are, wherever you happen to, whenever you happen to come across this, or wherever you are in your seasons or setting intentions or learning about them. Start now. There is no need to wait, like, oh man, I missed it this time, so I have to wait till the winter season again. Or I missed, the full moon and I have to wait to release until the next full moon before I can really get clear on an intention. That is not necessary. That is that doubt and that resistance to trying something new, or to kind of hold you and keep you in your comfort zone. Those are those thoughts coming in that I talked about earlier. The resistance, doubt, what did I call them? Fear, doubt, and resistance that might be coming in. So you can jump in at any time. I will, of course, do a recap of the previous season. And actually, in the scope, you're looking at at how beginning of the zodiac calendar. So why not jump in now at the zodiac? Zodiac word is the zodiac year coming up on Aries, and then start from there, and then just keep the cycle going and learn as you go, practice as you go. And if you have some questions or kind of aren't real clear and want some feedback about the workshop or what it will consist of, I'm going to invite you to the Moon Manifesting Rockstars Facebook group, because on the 19th, the same day as the workshop, a couple hours before, at 11 a.m. Pacific, I will be having the monthly coffee conversation and coaching for the Aries season. I do that for every season. There's a monthly chat in the group about that. It's a free group and a free chat. And so on March 19th at 11 a.m. Pacific, I will be having the coffee conversation and coaching for Aries season. And you can ask me questions about the workshop. And if you can't make it live, or you just are hearing this in the future after it has happened, those replays remain in the group in the guides section. So you can go back and reference it and kind of maybe re-watch it or watch it in the future to learn a little bit about this, because the information remains relevant. It might just be a different season that you're working with, but the monthly lunar cycle repeats every single month. And it's the same concept, just applied to a bigger macro scale for the yearly lunar cycle. So the link to the group and the link for the workshop will be in all places shortly after this live ends. And if you cannot make the workshop is on Zoom. If you cannot make the live, but want access to it, I register for it anyway, because everyone who registers for the workshop will be getting an email of the replay, and you will be able to save that, bookmark the page, put it in a folder, and have access to it anytime, as long as, the internet is a thing. It's a thing. So, you will be able to maintain access to that. And that also goes for the yearly workshop that I referenced. If you purchase that, you can refer to it as you go throughout the year. So whatever works for you, and head over to the Facebook group, the Moon Manifesting Rockstars group, because I have that call every month, and then also a full moon call every month based on the zodiac of the moon. So you can start to learn and practice and kind of get your feet wet, or a refresher, or simply participate along with community in the group. And that is always there and available for free. So that's what I have for you guys today. It's pretty basic, but I will be diving into the workshop, how you can apply this with tarot. The different suits of tarot relate to the different seasons of the year, and you can tie that into it. Again, like I said, the monthly and the yearly, and then ways to incorporate this work into your daily life. I will be giving you activities, hence the workshop, that you can try, put into practice, get some information and feedback on, so that you can carry this going forward. And again, always have that reference to fall back on, or review, or revisit, anytime you want. So if you have any questions, depending on where and when you are watching this, you can email me. That's my inbox is always open. You can email me at vision, which is VISION, at bluemoonmanifestations.com. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you can comment, post your question or put it down in the comments. And you can head over to the group also and ask questions there, just in a post or under the replay or live of the live itself. There's all sorts of ways to access, but if you get lost and you don't know where to find the places, the best way is on email, which again is vision@bluemoonmanifestations.com. So hopefully, you're excited, or at least curious about working with the lunar cycle on a bigger scale throughout the year, and tying that into the monthly lunar cycle. Like I talked about earlier, I gave you an example of that sentence for the current energies that are going on. And that's what I have for you guys today. I will be back next week with a different topic. I did say this was a series. I will be doing the series in real time throughout the year. So the next one is going to be the full moon summer season, manifesting season. And then at the end of the year, I will compile them together, like in a blog post, or link them in a playlist or something along those lines. So they will all be packaged together. But I'm going to be doing the workshops in actual real time throughout the year. So if you think this will benefit someone, or someone might enjoy this type of information, I invite you to share it or rate the podcast, give it a review or some information, and subscribe so that you always get the notifications of the newest episode. So that's it. Happy upcoming new moon in Aries and new zodiac year and spring season here in the Northern Hemisphere, at least. So I will talk to you guys next week. Take care.